Good afternoon, everybody. This is a hearing of the Transportation Committee of the Baltimore City Council. I am Ryan Dorsey. I'm the chair of the committee. I'm joined here by Vice Chairman Leon Pinkett from the 7th District, from the 9th District,
Mr. Chair.
and staff committee, Jennifer Coates. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for putting this together. We are joined by representatives from a number of city offices as well as from the MDOT MTA. Thank you all for being here. We are here for two bills that are nearly identical to renew franchise agreements between the city and state for the bill number 190341 franchise Baltimore Region Rapid Transit System Sections A and C, also known as parts of the Metro subway system, and Bill 19-0342 franchise Central Light Rail. These bills and the couple of amendments that I've asked and had prepared here along with DOT and the mayor's office and with MDOT MTA staff are more or less identical. So we're going to be hearing and moving these bills simultaneously. I'd like to call for agency reports to start. Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Martin French for the Baltimore City Planning Department. The Planning Commission met on April 18th of this year to consider both of these bills, 19-0341 and 19-0342. Heard public testimony in favor of these bills and recommends approval of these bills.
Thank you. Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These bills are the franchise bill before you is just another example of the partnership that we have between MDOT MTA and Baltimore City DOT. So we stand by our report, which is favorable. We also have an amendment for both bills as well that adds an additional reporting requirement.
This is the amendment that I referred to that was done at my request and
yes.
that we worked together on. Got it.
Yes.
Thank you. City Solicitor's Office.
So I know
Stegman from the Mayor's Office.
So while I do not work in the solicitor's office, I am a lawyer. So anyway, the law department they had three amendments that they had requested for this bill. For purpose of legal sufficiency, the first one is a clarifying amendment. Just to clarify who's director of transportation they're referring to, and the second is would add a section to the bill with a blank for the Board of Estimates to set the actual franchise fee. Traditionally, it's been $0 for these agreements, and that's probably what will continue to be the case. But there would be that actual space there, and then the third one is just technical amendments to
renumber,
bring everything into line.
Great, thank you. HCD.
DHCD stands by our reports in support of both bills.
Thank you. Parking Authority.
The Parking Authority does not oppose the passage of the bills.
Thank you. Finance. Thank you. And Real Estate. Oh, that's the Comptroller's Office.
Hold on. I know they have a report here.
We have a written report favorable from the Office of Real Estate, but
They stand by that report.
yeah, interestingly, this is the second hearing in as many days where we have not had a representative from the Comptroller's Office present. Okay, so this is going to go to the Board of Estimates on December 18th for review. I guess after this, we move it along here. Comments from MDOT MTA?
No, we have no additional comments to add.
Do you gentlemen want to introduce yourselves?
Yes.
We're very thankful to have you in the house. We always love having.
Josh Minnick, also from Attorney General's Office for MTA.
And good afternoon. My name is Matt Latin. I'm the director with the Office of Real Estate for MDOT-MTA.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. These bills renew the franchise agreements that have, in some cases, long since expired. Am I correct that one of these bills actually merges two franchise agreements, one from 1976 and one from 1988, into one, essentially, for the parts A and C?
There were a number of issues.
Yeah.
Trying to put them together on one because they were done in two separate phases, those sections.
Yeah, so it looks to me like one of these franchises, at 25 years, 25 years in length, expired in 2001. So we've had an expired franchise agreement here for the last 18 years. And then one of them initially created in 1988. I'm not so good with math. That's a little less, but still a number of years. And the other from the 90s. We've got a bunch of the franchises here that are expired that need to be renewed. The franchise agreements are for 25 years, which reminds me, I wanted to tell a story. And then I'm going to ask my colleagues here for any comments or questions. A couple of years ago, the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra was in its 100th year as an orchestra. And on a couple days before my birthday, my father gave me a pair of tickets to see the BSO perform a Mahler symphony, and that the orchestra had not played, I think, for 20 plus years. It was a really big deal. And he handed me these two tickets for me and my then girlfriend, now wife, to go see this concert. Her birthday is the day after mine, so it was a real treat. And he said, one of these tickets I purchased. The other I acquired by turning in a coupon that I got 25 years ago on the occasion of the orchestra's 75th anniversary, and it was good for redemption only in this year on the occasion of the orchestra's 100th anniversary. And it was still attached to a pennant that was in Baltimore Orioles colors, and it said something to the effect that BSO, today's youth, tomorrow's audience. And I was very happy to be able to call up the director of the BSO after he told me this. He had never mentioned this to me before. He had kept these tickets pressed in this pennant, this coupon, pressed in a picture frame for 25 years, just so that it was large enough that he wouldn't lose it. And I called up the director of the BSO, Marion Alsop, and I said, "You never believe this story." And so she called up her assistant, and she said, "When you come to the concert, let us know when you get here tomorrow. We're going to see if we can dig this up." And so I was able to take the pennant and the ticket attached to it back home with me as a souvenir afterward. And so now I have it on the mantle at home as a reminder of something that was 25 years in the making. And here, I have an amendment to ensure that the city council and mayor of the city of Baltimore 25 years from now will not overlook the need to, again, renew this franchise. And that is the essence of the amendment that we have prepared here. My colleagues, amendments 1 and 2 on these separate sheets are to this effect, that every year henceforth, MTA shall send a letter to the mayor and city council of Baltimore reminding us of the date of the expiration of this franchise agreement, and that they'll also note in it, based on their annual state of good repair report, things that they plan to repair in the coming 24 months. And I think that'd be good for the quality and relationship of communication between DDOT, BCDOT and MDOT, MTA. And so I just like, and there's a second amendment that is technical that, just does some renumbering. Before we move that or any other amendments, I want to ask if there are any questions from my colleagues here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a question for MTA. Maybe I'm just curious. So in the agreement and on this particular ordinance in Section 1, I guess it's the second paragraph, it says, the grantee shall operate and maintain in good condition Section A and Section C of the Baltimore Region Rapid Transit System. And then it lists a whole host of items that I guess would reflect what things need to be operated and maintained and kept in good condition. And then as you get further into that paragraph, it says, herein mentioned at the sole cost and expense of the grantee. And so I guess I'm just curious because I believe it was this year the Department of Transportation released a report, Capital Needs Inventory. And I think that report said that over the next decade, there's a $2 billion gap between what is needed to keep the transit system in a state of good repair. So is MTA DOT in compliance with this agreement? If we have a $2 billion gap between what we would need in order to keep the system in a state of good repair?
Well, good afternoon. This is Matt Latin with MDOT MTA. I'm not sure that I can answer your question directly. I think that there have been indications stating potential shortfalls in the upcoming future budgets to MTA. But certainly we would prioritize transportation and repairs to the systems of all of our systems as a priority and make sure that those systems are in good working order.
Councilman, another thing to consider too is since like the franchise agreement is specific to the city, but MTA or MDOT MTA operates as a state agency,
right,
so
absolutely.
not all of their assets are within the city.
No, I understand.
That being said, you are correct. A large portion of their capital needs are based in the city.
That's right.
And under our current leadership at Baltimore City DOT, we are we have been advocating for increased state funding, and that's part of our strategy going into this session to make sure the state is adequately supporting MDOT MTA.
Right. So, like, if I rented you an apartment, like for example, you would have an obligation to keep the utilities paid up, like the heat and the water and whatnot. And if you didn't, there would be. Now, obviously I'm not advocating us evicting MTA from the city, but I mean, it seems to be an obligation that whatever that standard of good repair is, that would be maintained in order to maintain the agreement. And unless, I mean, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not trying to be one. I'm just trying to make certain that if there is a certain standard of operation and maintenance that the system should have, then that means that the grantee is supposed to be providing that, and if not, then you're really not honoring the terms of the agreement.
So I think there's always room for improvement, and and it's something that we continue to work with MTA on. And actually, as we speak, Baltimore City DOT is actually at attending a joint meeting with the leadership of MTA. So these conversations are constantly going on. One of the, a more recent example in terms of state of good repair and maintenance is our recent MOU or Memorandum of Understanding in terms of maintenance of the dedicated bus lanes. So there's a constant conversation about how can we be helping each other out. Sometimes the conditions of our roadways, which is our responsibility, has wear and tear on MTA's assets as well. So it's a constant thing that we're striving to improve on, but understand that there is open dialogue, And, we see this as a partnership, and we're advocating on MTA's behalf to ensure that they're getting the proper funding to adhere to the franchise agreement.
Doc? I have an interesting question that I didn't just thought of. This franchise says that basically if MTA fails to do necessary maintenance, that the city actually has the right to do the maintenance and send the bill to MTA. If MTA were to prioritize its funding elsewhere, would we be in a position to extract additional funding from the state by doing the maintenance ourselves and then saying you owe us regardless if this was, of whether or not this was in your budget?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure that any one of us is capable of maybe answering
Well, we
your
got
question
folks
directly.
from the AG's office here.
We don't generally deal with funding issues in the AG's office.
Use the mic, will you?
I'm sorry. We don't usually deal with funding issues in the AG's office. That's usually managerial and higher up as far as funding. So I think Matt's correct at that point. We couldn't really, give you a positive answer, but I'm sure we'd use our best efforts to make sure everything was in place, that the light rails are running and subways are running and so forth and so on, because it benefits the mutual partnership that we have with the city.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. You good? Okay, there are a couple amendments on our desk. I'm going to move all of the amendments, for the two bills from that are marked as by DOT, as well as the sets from the Law Department. I move these amendments. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The amendments, all the amendments here pass as favorable. We're going to vote both bills separately. Okay, we're going to vote 19-0341. Brian Dorsey, chair in favor. Vice Chair Pinkett?
Yes.
Member Bullock?
Yes. I'm sorry.
For approval with amendments. My bad. We'll do this again. I move the bill favorable with amendments. Second?
Second.
All right. Dorsey votes yes. Pinkett?
Yes.
Bullock? Bill 19-0341. Move favorable with amendments. Bill 19-0342. I move the bill favorable with amendments. Second? That's my motion. I move the bill. Dorsey votes yes. Pinkett?
Yes.
Bullock? Yes. Bill 19-0342 is moved favorable with amendments. Both bills will come before the full council tomorrow, Thursday, whatever tomorrow's date is, December 5th. This hearing is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.